I'm here with Juraci Júnior da Silva, who wrote the article Valentinian Ethics. Possible connections for the book Western Gnosis. So tell us, I guess I'd like to start asking about how such ancient knowledge is important for today's society.
Sometimes many people nowadays think that what is ancient, what was practiced a long time ago, may not have any meaning, may not have any value. But on the importance of such ancient knowledge, firstly, is that we will have access to the origins precisely of how current beliefs, for example, within Christianity, which is a religion that is most in vogue, or the main one, let's say, the one that shaped the entire society, how can we have access to how did they think? For example, the Valentinian Gnostics, how did this influence the origins of current Christian belief? It is also worth understanding that for the Valentinian tradition, there is a certain search for meaning. The meaning of one's existence, there is a search for an answer about one's origins. The reason for being in this world, how can we improve ourselves, know ourselves, and maintain a relationship with the divine? In this sense, the Valentinian tradition brings us an aspect that, for me, was inherited not only from the Paulist tradition, but also from Messianic Judaism, namely a pietistic character, right? Bia was telling us about the importance that the Cathars had in regards to their reading of the scriptures and a way of living these scriptures. For Valentinians, the meaning of life, which so many seek nowadays, right? Well, the meaning of his existence for them lies precisely in this experience of a relationship with the divine through this pietistic practice, right? So, how is one going to translate these scriptures? How will one understand these scriptures? And how is one going to have a dialogue with the world around oneself? Through a practice, an experience, which for him or her is not just mythological, but is precisely a union with the divine.
And does this Valentinian tradition really consider the world as something bad, really bad? That has to be fought, as critics claim, or is that just not the case? What is your take on this?
So, along with the Nag Hammadi text, we have, it's not just the Gnostic text, right? We also have text fragments, such as translations of Plato's text, and if we look at it historically, then what is Valentinianism or the Valentinian tradition? So, where did Valentinus come from? Where did he go to study, and where did he form his esoteric schools? Well, we realize that he had a certain number of influences, whether from the Greek world or from the Alexandrian universe. In this sense, we can see in the tripartite tractate that he sees, rather, the Valentinian tradition sees the world, the cosmos, and even the demiurge as a fair administrator and the world as beautiful. Those are the terms used. So, as much as it is understood that human beings have a divine dimension while living within an outer shell, right? A shell that will always try to draw the individual's attention to a material experience or to live in such a way so as to be always worried about the world around them. There is something good about this, however, because it is precisely the fact that one is in this world that will provide one with the opportunity to seek one's origins, to seek to know oneself, to seek a relationship with the divine. So not only because of that, but Ptolemy himself says so in the letter to Flora. He says that the demiurge, the creator, who is an aspect of the divine, is a fair administrator. So I understand that this conception that critics have about the Gnostics, especially the Valentinians, is a misconception about how they thought about the world, the demiurge, and even matter itself.
It's very interesting. Now, would you agree with a sentence that goes like this? Only Gnosis can offer salvation.
Looking at how the Valentinians understood it and what we can understand by Gnosis, and then trying to understand why only Gnosis can offer salvation when we turn to Gnostic myths, especially those in the tripartite tractate there, the author brings us the idea that at a given moment beyond time itself, this chronological time, the divine was thinking about itself, right? The term that is used there in the tripartite tractate is perceptivity. This is the first manifestation of truth, the uttermost truth for the Valentinian tradition. The idea that the divine at first was perceiving itself, and it is by knowing itself that the world will be created, okay? Out of this relationship that the divine has with himself, he realizes who he is not, and the world is being manifested in an increasingly dense layers until it becomes a material form. So, when the Valentinian tradition brings us the idea that only Gnosis saves, it is precisely about this first perception. One has to be seeking to obtain this perception, just as the divine had to know himself, so that one can learn what his origin is, who he is, what he does here in the world, and how he can, who knows, correct himself, not in the sense of avoiding an underground hellish world as the Christian tradition would have it, but in terms of saving oneself from one's own ignorance, from the ignorance of not knowing one's origin, of not knowing who the Creator is, or the moment when everything comes into being. And the fact that he is part of this process